And man, like, you know, I'm sure we all heard it before, but the immigrant story, my dad comes with $6 in his pockets. And, you know, he worked 3 jobs. My other brother came along while we were in the States, and then I was born. I'm from Chicago, born and raised there. And yeah, man, my parents are like just workaholics. Like my dad, unfortunately, is no longer around. He passed away in 2008, and I fully believe he worked himself to death.
Sorry. Oh, wow.
He had a heart attack while he was working, drove himself to the hospital.
Oh, my God.
Got on the table, and the doc's like, your heart's not beating. So right now you're actually technically dead. You know,
and he was alive? I mean, he was awake when he was saying
this. He literally
this.
drove himself, sat on the table, and they go, we don't have a heartbeat on you. And he's fully fine. Yeah, he was telling us later, he's like, obviously I felt terrible. I felt like collapsing. But drove himself. He drove a red GMC Sierra. I remember that, a little pickup truck.
Okay. How does that work? If you get there and your heart's not beating, then what do they say?
He didn't die. They rushed him into surgery and they put a pacemaker in him. They found out it was a clot. Angioplasty, I think is the procedure.
My dad had that.
Yeah. So now he's walking around no, so it wasn't a defibrillator. Pacemaker, one of the two. He's walking around with that, and you know, as soon as he came, he's back to work. Just that's how the situation was. You know, I'll never say, oh, we were poor, because we always ate. I've talked to families and people that were poor, you know, and I would never put myself in that. But we had what we had, you know, and it wasn't much. And I was the kid at school that got made fun of because I had holes in my sneaker. You know, I wore my brother's clothes; they were too big for me and whatnot. So, but my dad, man, he did what he could. And like I said, he worked as much as possible. My mom's the same, had a bunch of odd-end jobs and just worked. And one thing led to another with my dad. He was a medical nightmare. You know, he had heart problems. He ended up getting like water in his lungs, kidney failure. He's diabetic. And unfortunately, he passed because his diabetes had gotten so bad that his left leg had got, like, his toe basically like died on him. And it was spreading. So they tell him, like, sir, we're going to have to amputate your leg.
I've heard about this.
Yeah. So as sick as he was, it was kind of like a very cool moment in the sense of showing how strong my family is. My dad had to go get the procedure done. They amputated his leg, and then they sent him to a rehab center. And he, as a man, was miserable because he was working his entire life. He's like,
What kind of work did he do?
Everything. So he worked at the post office. He also was the manager at Burger King at night. He would go there and close up and stuff like that. But then what finally his stride was, he got into real estate. So while he was making all this money, he would put enough to the side, start flipping houses. But he would literally go in the house, flip the house himself.
Oh, wow.
And then once he started making some money, he started hiring it. So as my dad was trying to get in this position where, like, now money's coming in, I can send my boys to college, and, like, we started living comfortably, all this stuff starts hitting him. So in my mind, he worked so hard that his body gave out before he could enjoy the fruits of his labor. You know, so, you know, he gets the procedure done to amputate his leg. The family moment that I was talking about, there was not a day that my dad was by himself. Every day, at every hour, someone was in the hospital with him. He was never, and he was that guy. He just loved hanging out.
Yeah.
So he's in the hospital bed, and the day before he passed, I fully believe things happen and people know. Unfortunately, he passed because of complications from the procedure, and no one saw it coming. We all knew he was sick, but no one said, hey, he's going to die tomorrow. He was expected to make a recovery and come home. So we were building a ramp for him to come home and stuff.
Oh, man.
The day before he dies, we're sitting down, and he looks up at me, and he goes, I've never been to one of your shows. He never saw me wrestle.
He never saw you
I never
wrestle?
saw him because he's always working. He's always working.
Wow.
So I go, well, and I had my laptop with me. I was like, do you want to watch my matches? And he's like, sure. So I lay on the bed next to him, and we pop up. And poor guy, he starts like nodding off during my matches. Either they're really bad or he's having medication or something. Yeah. So me being the ignorant kid, as he's watching my match, he's like, my dad's nodding off, and I kind of elbow him, and he wakes back up. He's like, yeah, I'm watching. So he watches a bunch of my matches, and he starts talking about, he's like, you know, like, man, he's like, if you got passion, you know, he's giving me the whole dad talk, chase your dreams. I'm like, yeah, whatever. I leave, my mom comes, I leave. My mom's staying with him for the afternoon. The plan was that I come back at night to kind of like relieve my mom so she can go home at night. I walk in the room and my mom and dad were having some sort of like serious conversation. And I go, everything okay? And my mom's like, why don't you go home tonight? I was like, why? Like, you've been here all day. Like, I only had like, go home. And he goes, no. And then she leans in. She goes, he wants me to stay. He wants me to stay. And I got like offended first. Like, what, did I bore you today? Like, what do you mean he wants me? And she goes, and she squeezed me and she goes, just go home. And I was like, why? I was like, Dad, you good? He's like, yeah. He's like, just go home, man. He's like, you're young and you're sitting over here. Like, I just want to spend time with mom. Just go home. Super out of, it was just weird. We had a schedule. It was whatever. I leave. I get a call at 3:00 in the morning. Hey, Dad just passed away. It's from my mom. The way he passed, I don't have to go into like details, but my mom described it as very violent. The way he passed, he was throwing up.
Oh no.
He was screaming. It was very. My mom's still traumatized by that. She has nightmares of it.
I bet.
So, it isn't processed. You're dealing with this loss. Obviously, you come there and my dad's got this tube stuck down his throat, and I didn't believe it. I had to go touch him, and he's cold. And, obviously, really, really, really rough stuff. And then you're dealing with and it doesn't dawn on you till like weeks later. I go, he didn't want me to see that. Wow. And I asked my mom, I was like, what was that conversation? And he's like, he kept telling me that he's so tired and that he wants to sleep, but he's afraid to go to sleep.
Oh my God.
And she's like, the way he said it, he squeezed my hand and he started asking me to like, if I ever done anything wrong to you, forgive me. And she's like, I knew he knew. And I was like, I didn't question her just because like my mom started crying when she said, and she's like squeezing my hand. And I fully believe my dad knew that it was going to happen and he just didn't want me there for it.
Right.
Because like I said, to this day, my mom, she comes and stays at my house and sometimes I hear her screaming in the middle of the night because she just has, she described it to me with the way I told her, but it was violent. He didn't pass it to sleep quietly. It was, it was a whole deal.